You are the poem I never knew I was waiting to read. The kind written in stardust and sealed in whispers, not ink. When the world closed in like thick fog over a quiet morning, there you were, sunlight breaking through with your breath, your presence, your gaze. You speak in glances and touch in metaphors, and my heart, once cautious, now listens like it was always meant to be fluent in the language only you could write. It's in the way you pause before you smile, like the universe inhales and hands me another line of a verse I didn't know I was living. You are rhythm, and I am the page, once blank, now filled with the music of your being. Every time you laugh, a stanza blooms. Every time you reach for me, another sonnet is born. And when you're silent, even that breathless hush feels like the most sacred part of the poem, where all meaning hides in quiet beauty. You don't speak love, you are love. And in your nearness, I finally learned what it means to be written. When you walk into the room, the world tilts slightly, as if time pauses just to take notice. There's something about the way your presence lingers, like the final note of a symphony that doesn't quite fade, even after silence returns. I've studied your eyes as if they held ancient verses, as if buried in their depths are the lines that could set fire to even the coldest soul. There's a softness in the way you move, but it's not frailty. It's grace woven with strength, as though you were made of ocean tides and moonlight. Every word you speak shapes the air around me, and I feel the curve of your syllables wrap around my ribs like a melody I never want to forget. I don't love you in fragments or fleeting metaphors. I love you in entire pages, chapters I could never stop writing. You are not just in the lines, but between them, in the pauses, the inhalations, the subtle shifts. You are poetry not merely read, but breathed. There are moments when I look at you and forget the noise of the world. All the chaos softens like it bows in deference to your quiet brilliance. You don't have to try to be extraordinary. Existence wrapped itself in poetry when it made you. There's a patience in your gaze, as if you know the story before I speak it, yet wait for me to unfold it anyway. You let me become, slowly, like petals opening to a spring morning. I've seen you laugh with your whole heart, and I swear the stars above blinked brighter. You don't just inspire love, you transform it into something holy, something alive. Being loved by you is not a possession, it's a becoming, like water being poured into the cracks of my soul, mending what once broke. You've traced my faults with compassion, not correction, and that, to me, is the purest form of poetry. Every moment beside you adds another verse, one I'll carry forever. You are the eternal refrain to the melody that has always played faintly in my heart. The days before you feel like forgotten drafts, pieces of a song never sung, a rhythm missing its beat. But now, every sunrise carries the shape of your name across the sky, and every sunset feels like your fingers brushing across my spine. The world didn't change when I met you, but I did. You awakened colors in me I never noticed before. Even silence has texture now, because when we sit in quiet, I still feel surrounded by the softness of your presence. I used to wonder if love would ever arrive, like the stories said, messy, grand, undeniable. But with you, it arrived like a whisper, a subtle shift, like breath on skin, and suddenly I was living a verse that had waited lifetimes to be spoken. I don't know how you do it, how you make everything feel like the first line of a love letter I never want to end. You are not the chapter, you are the ink. You are not the dream, you are the pulse that makes the dream real. When I close my eyes, I still see you etched beneath my lids, like a wish I never dared to speak aloud. There's a sanctuary in your embrace, the kind no cathedral could ever replicate. I feel your love not as something outside of me, but a resonance within me, as if you touched a string I never knew was there. And now I can't unhear the music. Sometimes I wonder how many lifetimes we waited to find each other in this one. How many chances the universe took just to align our stars. I look at you and I'm not just in awe of your beauty, but of the way you carry your story, gently, bravely, with grace. I've known storms and droughts, and long winters of the heart. But with you came spring, a bloom I didn't plant. Yet now I guard with every breath, and still, every day, I marvel, how did a soul like yours find mine? You are the miracle that writes itself new each morning I wake up, and you're still beside me. You are the firelight that turns shadows into art. Even in my darkest hours, your love flickers like a steady flame, constant and warm. There's no need for grand declarations, when the truth is in the way you hold my hand, like you're writing a sonnet across my skin, with your fingertips. In a world that often feels heavy and loud, your voice becomes the lullaby that steadies my spirit. You don't just calm me, you anchor me. You remind me that love is not always thunder and lightning. Sometimes it's the softest rain, the kind that nourishes without fanfare. I once believed poetry belonged to the pages of books, but now I know it lives in the curve of your smile, in the weight of your presence, in the hush that falls when you enter a room. You didn't just teach me love, you rewrote my definition of it. I used to be a story with too many torn pages. Now I'm a novel, unfolding, written in the ink of your love and the patience of your touch. Each kiss is a punctuation, each glance a new stanza. I find myself composing odes in my mind when you laugh, as if joy was something that could be captured and studied like light through a prism. You reflect it so naturally. Sometimes I just watch you exist. How you reach for things gently, how you listen with your eyes, how you move like a verse being whispered into the wind. You live with such intentional softness, and yet you're the strongest force I've ever known. You break me open without pain, like petals coaxed from a bud. And every time I think I've loved you as much as one heart can, you reveal another depth, another unexplored corridor within me, where your love has already taken root. There's no final page to us, no conclusions. You are the ever-growing sonnet, the line I want to trace forever. My voice may tremble, my hands may age, but my love for you will only deepen, etched in soul instead of stone, in the eternal ink of our shared time. I remember the first time I looked at you and thought, this is it, not with fear, but with clarity, as if something ancient in me finally exhaled. You didn't arrive with fireworks. You arrived like dawn, quiet and inevitable. And like light, you didn't ask for attention. You simply illuminated everything. My memories are now laced with your laughter, and my future feels like a promise wrapped in your name. I used to be afraid of time, of change, of losing pieces of myself. But with you I feel like every passing moment adds another layer, another verse to this poem we're living. You remind me that love doesn't need to be perfect, to be sacred. It only needs to be real, and you are real. You are the most honest thing I've ever known. When the world forgets to be kind, I remember your touch, your words, your way of seeing me, and I believe again, in beauty, in softness, in love, in the truth that some poems don't end, they echo. And if one day we are far from where we began, if time carves new paths between us, let this remain. You were my poem, you are my poem, the one I never needed to write, because I lived in every stolen glance, every quiet evening, every storm we weathered side by side. The verses wrote themselves into the marrow of my being. Your love is my language now. I speak it when I breathe. I recite it when I dream. I carry it like a talisman, like a lighthouse lit forever in my chest. No ink could hold what I feel for you. No page could contain the vastness of it. But still, if you ever wondered what you meant to me, know this: I found God in your kindness, home in your heartbeat, eternity in your smile. The world may turn, the stars may shift, but this truth remains. You were never just part of my story. You were the line that made the entire book worth reading. You are the poem, and I am forever yours.